Hello and welcome to the very first inaugural opening never seen before I Draw You Watch presented by snapcontroller.com, where you go to look at adequate JPEGs and average jokes. Basically, I've been wanting to do a drawing video for a year probably. I tried it on my old laptop that I had before yesterday, and it never really worked because the laptop was it's not exactly high tech. It was a notebook. It's actually a notebook. It's a Samsung, one of those N150 plus. I don't know what it is, but it's one of those little Samsung notebooks, and it's brilliant. And it has served me for 2 years drawing a comic and everything else. But it wouldn't handle screen recording at the same time as drawing using Photoshop and stuff like that. So I've got a new laptop, my birthday yesterday, and I've got some screen recording software which works wonderfully. And basically, the premise behind this is I will draw a comic, hopefully at least one a week, hopefully more, but definitely at least one a week, and chat over the top of it, a range of topics. I'll come up with my own topics for the chat, talking about what I've played, what I've watched, what's going on in the world, especially in the geek culture world, comics, gaming, movies, and so you can watch along if that's your bag, and also listen along, much like I have. It'll be much like I've done in the past with video reviews and podcasts and everything else. But I kill two birds with one stone. I get to have my voice and stand on my soapbox and uh, talk and do that side of things that I really like and used to enjoy doing. And also I get to do it while producing a video. Producing a comic, which maintains the Snap Controller site. This comic is going to be the very first comic. If you click on the first button when you go to the website, it usually used to, or still does at the moment until I've uploaded it, but it goes to the very first comic I drew back on the 1st of March in 2012. And although I love the joke, the artwork is fucking awful. And I always wanted to either redo that strip, or just because people come to the site, they see the most recent strip or one that was shared, or they stumbled across it or whatever, and the first thing they do is click first to go back to the archives, and the art is so far removed because I was learning from as I drew, and it doesn't look great. So this comic is I'm not going to redo the first comic because basically that is my archive and I want to keep it like that, but I am going to go back and do a first comic just so that people don't have a stark shock when they go back to the first comic. So if you want to see this comic, so it doesn't spoil a joke for you while you're watching this, if you go to the site and click on first, it will be there by the time this video is uploaded to YouTube. So more about this video. Yeah, basically it'll be like if you listen to the podcast before, it'll be something like that. More like the old podcast where I talk more about our culture. But it also opens up the possibility of having guests on. Obviously, there are none today. This is the first one. I want to get it sorted and try. It's basically a trial and error. The audio is not going to be great, but I am going to get myself a Blue Snowball. Well, I'm ordering it today. But so that will be here hopefully for the next one. So the audio will be better. But at the moment, I'm just using the microphone that's on the new laptop. But yeah, guests. Hopefully, it's conducive to having people on. The video can play while myself and, for example, Chris chat away like we used to do on the podcasts. Moreover, I can have my brother Dazza, all the people that you've heard me talk about and or talk to in the past. Sam, there's times recently where me and my friends are getting together to because we used to leave it once a year, and we ended up seeing each other once a year, and it never seemed like enough time to catch up and have some fun by playing games or the like. But now we are doing it once a month, so there's every possibility that I might be able to squeeze one in then, with my old group of friends. We do stuff like, mate, it's mainly tabletop gaming at the moment. We've really got into some of the, games that you'll know of, and that have been around for quite a while, but we're only sort of coming across because of we're I'm just trying to clean a crumb that has managed to work its way into my keyboard. We are yeah, we've only come across because of Will Wheaton's tabletop on Geek and Sundry, which I urge you to check out. It's really fun, where he gets a bunch of stars and people from gaming culture to play a ball game. One of the ball games I bought based on watching them play it was Mysteries in the House on the Hill, or something like that. Haunted House, something. Anyway, it's good. It's really fun. The main game we play is Talisman, and we've got all the expansions, and it fucking goes on forever. But it's quite fun. We just got the Dragon expansion, and that adds a lot to it. So the last game we played was a lot of fun. So maybe I'll add some of that across. Who knows? Anyway, the drawing, the artwork, as you can see, I had the story all done and everything else because no one wants to see me sit there and cry over my computer while I think of a joke. He uses joke in inverted commas. And I did the sketches, although the sketching, I hadn't set up my paintbrush and I hadn't set up my tablet settings on the new thing. So when I was sketching it, I was like, this doesn't feel right. And I'm sketching away and it all looks horrible. And then I realised that my paintbrush setting wasn't to the width that I used to have it, and also the pressure sensitivity on the tablet wasn't set like I had it on the old laptop. So I left all the crappy imaging up there, but I readjusted it all and then started the recording afresh so that you didn't see me stumbling around looking at all the options and everything else, and we just got straight into the artwork. So that's why the pencils, or the green layer, as I call it, which is basically the pencils, the sketch work, was already done, and the writing was already done. I went straight onto the inking. As you can see, I use Photoshop. I only use Photoshop Elements. I don't really need. Don't have any need for the proper Photoshop. I haven't come across any reason why I would need it as of yet. I imagine that because I learn new stuff about it all the time. I'd probably been drawing for about a year until I realised that you hold the shift button down, draws a straight line. And that was thanks to the Webcomics Weekly podcast done by Scott Kurtz, Brad Geiger, Chris Stroud and Dave Kellett. If you don't know about them, go to my site and look at my FAQs and about page. It mentions all of them because basically they're all not idols. What's the word? Influences. And I mentioned them a lot when I drew that one shot with the Idols to Peers comment. Again, it's on the website if you want to go have a look at it. So yeah, and then so what I do is I have a background layer, which is a plain white layer, which I then add the background colour to whenever I do it, which is generally just a block colour and then some lighting effect like a window frame or something. You'll see me do it later on in this one. Occasionally I'll do, depending on where what I'm doing drawing wise. See, this is just a simple 3-panel sketch where none of the characters move too much or make any changes or have any action poses or anything like that. So I generally draw them ones in like the living room, bedroom, kitchen. But occasionally I'll try to make them do an activity just to make the artwork a little bit more interesting, especially if I don't think that the jokers are strong. The joke's not particularly strong in this one, but I didn't want to make the comic, amazing, and then go to the next comic and it be the original first comic, which was drawn 2 years ago. So that's so the background layer, and then I have the pencils layer, and then I have an inking layer. The frames with the gutters and everything else, I have the template already drawn out with the snapped panel or snap gutter, which has became a theme. I left it in because of after I did the strip, I just thought it was one thing that would set my comic apart from other people's, and I have linked to it on the site where you go to the archives or you go to the about page and stuff like that, and the cast page, and the broken gutter has its own blurb, just so that people understand why it happened. And I just left it in there forevermore. But I have the frames is its own layer, and it's all coloured and flattened and everything else, and I just leave it in. Obviously, the text I do above the frames, and the only other thing that goes above the frames is the speech bubbles, because I tend to overlap a lot, just for space issues. Really, I've not got the greatest spatial awareness yet. I'm getting better, but I tend to cram a lot in when I don't need to, and or get my characters a bit too close to the bubbles. As you'll see in panel 2 here, Waffles is too close to his bubble, but I left it because I didn't want to completely rejig the whole thing after I finished and found out. What was I talking about? Yeah, speech bubbles. Oh, big mistake there. What I've done here is I went to resketch the arm, and then I realised that obviously the first line, which is never the first line, is never great, so I always undo it, and then because on Photoshop you undo it goes back to the previous layer that you were on, which was the inking layer, and then I sketched the whole thing on the inking layer, and then I realised, which is why I've tried to. After I enjoy, I like the sketch, so I didn't want to completely abandon it. So I just changed it to black and got rid of all the other sketch lines that I didn't need. But what you'll see I do occasionally is when I change layer, I'll go to the eraser tool, just draw a line on a blank space, and then go to the pencil or the paintbrush, and then start working again. Because then if I undo that first line, because inevitably the first line is not great, it doesn't undo back to the previous layer. It just undoes that back to that eraser action that I made. So yeah, I wanted to include Lawrence in this first panel as well, but I didn't because it was just too crammed in, and the joke's simpler when you've got angry old Warren and naive Waffles. And I just put Kip down the bottom because of the third panel surprise. I just had the image of him staring at a dress, and it amused me, so that's why he's in there. You can tend to, a lot of the comics you might have noticed, Kip has a separate sub story to the actual panel. I'll have the main joke running across the top, but occasionally Kip will be having his own little dialogue or actions that will create a secondary joke. Which sometimes still to show. I did a joke about E3 last year, sort of June time when E3 was on, and Kip's joke was actually funnier than the E3 joke that I'd come up with once everything had shaken out and I'd finished doing it. So he's easy to put into places. Right, what else have I got to talk about? I can go. Basically, I'm just looking at some stuff that's been going on recently. I can go through some of the stuff that I've been playing, gaming wise. You'll have to forgive me for this first one. I haven't quite got the structure down. I'm sure it'll get more as more smooth as the weeks go on and the episodes go on. Much like the podcast did. If anyone listened to the podcast, the original podcast for the weekly show, whatever we called it, I can't remember. They started off ridiculous when they were back on the Jellycast site, and then by the time we did the last one on mypodcast.com, it was we had jingles and everything. So I imagine it'll get like that, but at the moment I'm just sort of dipping my toe in to see what I can what I can get out of it. I know I had something else to say about the artwork, and I can't remember what it was. It's going to bug me, but it doesn't matter. You see here, I realised that Warren is too tall. I've got a scale image where I know what everyone's height, and um, Lawrence is Waffle's obviously the tallest. Lawrence is the spikes of his hair usually reach to the sort of the first curve of Waffle's ear, and then Warren is at eye level with Waffle's mouth, and then Kip doesn't really fit into the scale. He's if you lined him up with everyone else, his scale would be that, or his height would be that he's around about waist height to the two human characters. But generally, I just put him along the bottom of the screen, or climbing, or sitting on someone's shoulders, or in a box, or just so that I can get him on screen. I don't really look at the perspective too much with Kip. Otherwise, it just I just don't. I know maybe I should, but I don't at the moment. So what have I been playing? What have I been playing? Most recently on the, I still haven't got an Xbox One or a PS4, mainly because there's nothing out on either that I want to play. I mean, I want to play Titanfall, but it's coming out on the 360 eventually. I know they're pushing it back because they obviously want to sell more on the Xbox One, so they keep holding off on the 360 release, but it'll come out eventually and then I'll play it. So on the 360, the most recent game I played and completed was The Stick of Truth. I wrote up a little bit about it on the website, and it is just like a South Park game you would expect, just like a South Park TV show. It's crude, it's crass, it pushes the envelope. The envelope is gone. There's no envelope. It's gone so far past the envelope. It's in a different postal district. It is pretty obscene in certain areas. Jokes about Nazis, zombies, paedophiles, everything you'd expect from South Park writing from Trey Parker and Matt Stone. It's playable, it's fun. There are some moments where I laughed out loud. Some of the stuff with Jimmy, if any of you follow me on Vine, I did put it up there for a little bit, but I realised that it didn't quite look as good as the actual cutscene. But the cutscene goes on for about a minute and a half because Jimmy's obviously got that stutter. So when he's talking about the stick of enchantment, he says stuff like, "You won't be able to get your hands on the stick of enchantment. You won't be able to get your hands on the stick of enchantment. The stick of enchantment." And then it goes on for a minute, and by the end of it, I was like in tears laughing. It is really funny. And there are a lot of jokes in there. There's a lot of side quests which keep you going for sort of 12 to 14 hours. Without them, if you played the game straight, you'd probably be done in about 6. The story's just nonsense. It's just it's a South Park story, but it's playable. It's not bad. It resembles the old Final Fantasy sort of 7, 8, 9, 10, where you choose what you want to do, and then it's turn-based attacks, and then it's going around collecting, doing side quests and stuff like that, backwards and forwards, and finding your way across the map. There's a clever bit when you go to Canada. Obviously, they have when they do the Canadians, they have that wobbling head sort of gimmick that they do for Canada. When you go to Canada in the game, it turns into a little 8-bit game with all 8-bit sounds and noises and everything else, rather than your original. I mean, the South Park imagery is not it's not high quality, but it is what it is. And to go to the 8-bit, it was amusing when I saw it. But yeah, it's worth a rent, but it's not. I wouldn't buy it because there's a lot of games that these days what I wouldn't buy, just purely for the fact that they are short and or not very good after you've played them for a while. Speaking of which, I have Metal Gear Solid, the new one, here today. Once this video's all done and dusted and uploaded, I am going to go and play it. But I've heard that it only lasts for generously 4 hours, and that's if you do all the side stuff and everything else. I've even seen a run through. I've seen a run through on YouTube that it gets done in 10 minutes. The entire game completed in 10 minutes. It should have just been a demo. They should never release this as a proper game, especially not at 30 quid. Some people, there are going to be thousands of them on the shelves. If you go to Game or your local, your local gaming retailer that does used games and stuff like that, you're going to see thousands of them on the shelves, I imagine, where people have traded them in because they've realised how ridiculous it is. So I'll be playing that, but surely I'll have a write up on the site and or mention it in next week's video. Apart from that, mainly I've been playing The Last of Us still, because it's just an amazing game. If you've got a PS3, and even if you've got it's coming out on the PS4, and it will sell a few consoles, I think, because even though it's a PS3 game, it's just amazing. It's just the best game that's ever been released, and I'm including Ocarina of Time and all my other favourites in that, Project Eden. It's just amazing. The story's brilliant, the gameplay's brilliant. Even the multiplayer, I've done the two factions' entire stories in the multiplayer, and it stands up against a hell of a lot of other multiplayers. So much more playability. The maps are almost perfect. There's one map I don't like, the subway map, but other than that, you can't fault one. There's places to hide, there's places to snipe, there's places you can go if you want to move around. It's not about running and gunning. If you do that, you tend to fall foul. It's good for teamwork. For me, it's my perfect game in that regard, multiplayer wise. So I've been playing that multiplayer a lot. Plus, at the moment we're just me and Jodie are saving to move out. Or we're in between. We've sold my flat where we were, and we're now looking at houses. And in the meantime, we're staying with my mum. So we're in the only place I can play the PlayStation is upstairs, and the 360. And the PlayStation is the only one that's wireless. So that's why I'm online with that, rather than, because this is the sort of time when I'd get back to playing Left 4 Dead. Or Left 4 Dead 2 on the 360, because talking of multiplayer games that you can't put down, that's the one that's stood the test of time for sure. And hopefully, if I can get back online sooner rather than later, I'll be on that with Phil and Dazza and Gareth and all of my hundreds of 360 friends, as opposed to the sort of 8 or handful that I've got on the PS3. Just because I didn't have a PS3 for as long as I had a 360, which I got at launch. I also got a 3DS for my birthday from my wife, because the games that are coming out on 3DS are just amazing, and you can't get them on the normal DS. So Ocarina of Time, stuff like that. I can't break out my N64 all the time, but I can, if I've got Ocarina of Time on 3DS, I can, plug it in, play it whenever I want to. It's one of those games that's massively epic if you do it 100%. I know me and my friends, when we were younger, when it was when the N64 was like sort of one of the main consoles, I had them all stay round, and we completed 100%. Every side quest, every bottle, every PO, the whole lot. We completed the game in 24 hours, which was amazing. Even catching the big fish and everything else. It was, but when you're playing on your own, you're not going to be able to speed run it in 24 hours. And even if you do complete it in 24 hours, that's usually spread over a week or a couple of weeks or something. With less time to game that I have now that I'm an adult and I've got a real job and a website and everything else that I try to squeeze in of the weekends, cricket and whatnot. Where was I? Yeah, so 3DS, I've got that, and I've got a couple of games. One of the games that I got was for winning the videogamer.com podcast competition that they do once a month. I just drew strips. I just kept on drawing strips. I still do. Every competition they announce, I draw a new strip for them. It tends to go into their gallery, but one of them won, and you get a game up to the value of 45 quid or 50 quid or something like that. So I opted for A Link Between Worlds, which is just brilliant. It's fantastic and it is massive. I thought at first it might be quite short, and then, like Ocarina of Time, you get to the point where you get the Master Sword and everything else, and you do the first three sort of mini temples. And I thought that might be it, but it's not. It opens up, and then you have to get, it's the same as all the other Zelda games. You've got the Seven Sages, etc., and it is massive, and it's good fun to play. So that's what I've been. That's what I've been playing recently, and it's a bit of a lull at the moment because obviously I don't have the newer consoles, so there are a handful of exclusives that I'm not playing, like Dead Rising. But I never really liked the original Dead Rising games, and Titanfall because it's not come out yet. There's not much else I'd probably even want to try that's exclusive to those consoles. I'm still waiting for the big, that big exclusive to be revealed that I'm going to want. I mean, even like the new Dragon Age is going to be multi-platform, so that was going to be the thing that tipped me over the edge to get the new console. I always said if The Last of Us 2 or Left 4 Dead 3 was released, that would prompt me to buy either console. Like especially if it's exclusive, like it is at the moment. Left 4 Dead being Xbox and Last of Us being PS3. Another Heavy Rain would probably do it as well because that was another amazing game on the PS3. But yeah, there's not. I mean, Watch Dogs. That's going to be on the existing consoles. I know they won't be better and they won't live up to the graphics that these new consoles will be able to churn out, but that doesn't particularly bother me. They're not going to look horrendous. It's not like they're going to be Spectrum Plus 2 graphics or anything like that. So yeah, I'm still waiting for that big exclusive. I know Uncharted 4 has been announced, but there's absolutely nothing, no details about it at all. So that probably wouldn't sway me to buy a console. I played the other three because I had a PS3, and it's a good game. They are good games, but they're not make me want to go and spend £300-400 to get. So we'll see. We'll see what E3 has this year. I'm sure that's when there'll be massive gaming focus. Because there wasn't much last year. They mentioned a lot of the stuff, but they just mentioned it. We've still not seen anything. The Division, that's another one that looks amazing, but we've not heard anything about it since last year's E3. So who knows? We'll see when it comes out. What am I watching at the moment on YouTube? Geek and Sundry channel is good for if you're like me and you're into all this sort of culture, games and gaming and everything else. Geek and Sundry's got lots and lots and lots of stuff that will interest you, like comics, board games, video games, and just general amusing videos that are humorous. I'm also, because I was obviously a big follower of videogamer.com and their competitions and everything else, I got introduced to the broadcaster Matt Lees, who left videogamer.com over Christmas or in January, and has now started his own YouTube channel. He does other projects and stuff like that, but his main contribution to videogamer.com was these abridged videos that he did at E3, which were hilarious. Kind of his own take on what was being said by the announcers and everything else. He has launched his own YouTube channel sponsored by Patreon, and people have jumped on board, and he's now able to make some videos, and they're actually quite funny. I especially like the XCOM videos he does, because I was a big fan of XCOM when I played when it came out last year or the year before, and he's playing it through with like this with the screen capture so that people can watch as he goes. And they're usually quite amusing. It could do with being a bit longer. They seem to be over before you've started anything, but he tries to keep them to sort of half-hour level. And they're good fun. I urge you to check them out if you are interested in gaming. Speaking of Patreon, people have asked if it's something that I'm looking at. I've not really got, asking for people to support me to carry on making a comic that I've been making for 2 years without any contributions seems a bit off. Seems like I'm just saying to people now, oh, support me so that I can carry on doing what I've already been doing. And then they've said no, but surely you can just leave it there as an option, and then if people want to, they can. If they don't, they won't. And I think it'd be better to launch it, in 6 months' time, a year's time, when people have seen, when we see, how it shakes out, because it's all new at the moment. Like Kickstarter was new, and we're now seeing the problems with Kickstarter, which I'll go on to one of the massive problems of it in a minute. But we're seeing some of the problems with Kickstarter now after it's been going for quite a while, and people have had issues with it. I ordered I backed a game by a couple of people, and when the game arrived, it was all up and up. It was brilliant. Everything was as was advertised, everything else. But then they realised that they didn't know about English customs, and I got a letter from FedEx saying I owed them, another 12 quid for the customs duty and stuff like that. But it's only 12 quid, but still, it should have been covered. It should have been researched, and this, that, and the other. And that's just a couple of the, that's just one of the issues. There's bigger issues than that, like games not even being developed, and you backed it and paid your money. They've taken your money. They've tried to make the game, it didn't work, and they just kept your money. So yeah, I think it'd be better to launch it, A, when I've seen that, and B, when I've got something to offer backers at certain levels, and I've got bonuses that I can give to people. Like, it's all well and good saying, "Oh, back me, £1 a month, and I'll keep making the comics." But if I can say, "All right, £1 a month, if you want to, just to support me," or £5 a month, or dollars, because it's obviously in dollars, $5 a month, you get, thank you for supporting me, and you get a print of your choice and a book. Because at the end of the day, if they paid $5 a month, and I can say, if once you reach the year, you get a print and a book, because then they paid $60, and I can then say, for that money, you've not only supported me and helped me carry on making the thing, but you've also it's also paid for a book that I've printed with a year's worth of strips, or 2 years worth of strips, probably 2 years worth of strips, and a print of your choice, which I offer anyway for $15. So I imagine the book would be around 15 quid mark. So what's that, 20, 22, $25? So that's $40. So you pay $20 extra a year to support, but also you're gaining things. So I just think it'd be better if I've got stuff like that to offer, and then I can obviously have stretch goals where once I have so much per month, I will guarantee that I do the podcast again, or I guarantee I will do a Ranting Monkey once per month. These things that old fans of mine, rather than Snap Controllers, will jump on board for. I know there'll be fans of Ranting Monkey that definitely jump on board with that. I know there are fans of the podcast that will jump on board with that. But yeah, I want to have the actual physical stuff to actually offer people before I set up any sort of Patreon. Plus, I've got I'm gonna start start all the tax MacGuffin for the company come the 1st of April this year, because I'm not taking any money for Snap Controller, but I want to, so I'm going to register everything and this, that, and the other for the next financial year. So I bought myself an account book and everything else, so I can keep track of everything that comes in and out. This is boring. Who gives a crap about this? But basically, we're going onwards and upwards, and that's why I haven't started a Patreon page yet. What's going on in sport that I like? Man United, wow. They've not done well this year. It's hard to really defend David Moyes, because at the end of the day, he's inherited the same team that won the Premiership last year, and he's not had much change. He's brought in some players that haven't really worked. Like most certainly Fellaini's just not worked. Certainly not for the price. And he had lost Van Persie for a great deal of the year, and he was basically the player that won us the title last year. So I'm not big for that. This is a super championship winning side. We had Van Persie had a very, very good year last year, and he helped win the championship. There's no doubt. But having said that, um, he's not done well, and some of the decision making has been a bit weird. But I'm not one to jump ship just yet. Not jump ship. I'm not going to support another team. I'm not one to start getting on his back just yet because it's a bonus of having so many passions. To be honest, I'm not. There are some people that football is their life, and I used to be like that, especially when I was younger. I'd be shouting at the telly and whatnot, but I sort of let it wash over me now. When I'm watching it, I'm passionate about it, and I have my opinions, but I'm not overly worried when they lose. I've seen Man United win a lot, and I've been, um, not blessed because that's a fucking gay term. Not that gay's being wrong. That's a derogatory comment. It's a fucking pathetic term. I've been lucky enough to have been following them during the most successful period of their history, and I'd love to I'd give a couple of those trophies up if I could see the Eagles win the bleeding Super Bowl. Who have got a new manager now as well, and it all seemed to be gelling last year. We had some bumps, and there was a couple of times I was a little baffled as to why he couldn't run the clock down. It's all right doing this super fast offense when you're playing the game, but when you've only got 2 minutes to go and you're up by 14, just run the clock out. Don't keep going super quick and give the ball back. But it's a work in progress, and he seems to be the right man at the moment for the job. We've got a mouthy wide receiver who seems to be on his way out at the moment. He could do with shutting his trap and getting on with it, or leaving. And I'm sure it's going to be the latter, unfortunately, because he is a brilliant player. But you never know who we get in. We might be able to trade for someone. We might be able to buy someone or bring someone in because of the wages that get released by his leaving. Who knows? But I would love to see them win the Super Bowl. I really would, because it's that one thing. I've been following them now for 25 years. Yeah, 25 years, and they've never been. Well, they've been close, once, but yeah, not much else is going on in sport. The Knicks are going to finish just outside the playoffs by the look of it, and the Cubs are only just about to set off on another year, and we all know what the Cubs are like. How do we fix them? How do we fix them? I need to get myself a crack team of people that support the Cubs. Jim Belushi, me, a couple of other famous Cubs fans, and Dan Aykroyd. Let's try and nail it down. Let's try and find out how we can fix the Cubs. What else has been happening? What's been happening in the news? Oh, Facebook have bought Oculus Rift, haven't they? That's annoyed a lot of people. That's another thing about Kickstarter. People supported the Oculus Rift, and it was this. It was a dream, a thing, a thought, a project. And this company became a company after making the Oculus Rift, and then they decided to make themselves a bigger company by selling themselves to Facebook. And there's not a lot, anyone on Kickstarter can do about it, and that's Kickstarter. You have to make sure that you're reading exactly what you're buying into. But to be fair, I don't really like Facebook much anymore. I've got the Snap Controller Facebook page, which updates regularly, and I've got my own Facebook page, which I use basically to keep in touch with friends that I otherwise wouldn't keep in touch with. But I prefer Twitter. I prefer everything about Twitter. When you open a picture in the Facebook app, for example, on your phone, when you open a picture in the Facebook app, you have to click done. It doesn't seem like a lot, but when you open a picture in Twitter, you just tap the picture again, and it reduces itself. It's just the simplicity of it. I like the fact that Twitter is quick. I like the way it's organised. I like the way it's not clogged with shit. There's not ads up the side. There's not ads fucking all over the place. There's not banner ads. There's not people being suggested. The timeline is in chronological order. It will. There's nothing. There's no changing it. You've got all your other pages you can go to, your notifications page and your own page and everything else. But on your home feed, everything comes in the date that it was said, and I don't have to scroll down miles past things I've already read to find out the new stuff. Like Facebook, for some reason they just haven't got it into their thick skulls. That's how it works. So I'm sure they'll ruin the Oculus Rift for everyone. No, I don't. I think that they've got a hell of a lot of money. What, they paid 400 million plus the other 1.6 billion in shares. They've paid a hell of a lot of money, and they've got a hell of a lot of money. So if there's any things that the Oculus Rift was cutting corners on, or if there's anything that they were unable to research, they are now, their research and development area now has just got unlimited funds. All of a sudden, money is no object. Let's try this, let's try that, and it could make for a better system. Plus, it will make it more widespread. The Oculus Rift up until now was just a thing. It was a thing that geeks had. It was another virtual reality device, and it was treated as such by the external media. But now Facebook have bought it. Now it could be it could be a massive, massive thing. And I'm not gonna. It's not one of those things I'm gonna rush out and buy. But if it's there in the future and people are using it and it's more mainstream, then it'd be another thing to play with. Come Christmas one year when you open it up and you play with your virtual reality headset. I read on Twitter as well. I was talking to Twitter. It just reminded me. I was reading that someone had said that Bradley Cooper had been suggested for Indiana Jones. I mean, for crying out loud. Do we need another Indiana Jones? Do we need another remake? I could go on. I tell you, I've been reading about Michael Bay's Turtles, and it just seems like a barrel of shit. It's all Megan Fox central, of course, because he must fancy the pants off the bird. And then it's just they look awful. It's it's meant to be. It's not meant to be humorous. Apparently, they're saying that it's more serious. It just looks dreadful. And have you seen Michelangelo's not even got nunchucks? He's got the 3-part pole instead of It's as if he's got. Well, they're kind of nunchucks. They're not. It's a 3-section pole. It's a 3-section pole arm. It's not even close. It's not even in the family of nunchucks. Michael, you fucking. I loved Bad Boys, but he's just pissing all over my childhood with Transformers and the Turtles. I'm sure he'll pick. I did a load of tweets the other day. If you don't follow me on Twitter, I did a load of tweets the other day, like things, what's next for Michael Bay hashtag, and stuff like Biker Mice from Mars, except they're from Venus, but keep the title because it sounds better. Stuff like that. Because he's just ruining everything. He's ruining everything, and I hate him. I hate him for it. I'm sure the movie's going to do like gangbusters because the cartoon, that's the worst thing, is that the Nickelodeon cartoon is brilliant. It's funny, it's well made, it's got a good cast. And it's doing really, really well. And all this movie, and people are going to go, a movie about it, and they're going to go and see the movie, and it's going to be dog awful. But it's going to do so well, and then there's probably going to be another one, and it's just going to keep ruining it. And I just don't like him at all. Have you seen that the geezer playing Shredder as well is white? It's William Fitcher, the geezer from Go and Bleeding Perfect Storm, and that banker in Dark Knight. Oh my god! And he's playing Hiroko Saki. Yeah, he looks Japanese, doesn't he? Fucking just unbelievable. Couldn't find a Japanese actor, Michael, or you just racist? It's just everything about it. I hate it. But anyway, yeah, do we need another Indiana Jones? No. Bradley Cooper looks more like Nathan Drake. They should make an Uncharted movie and put him in it. I mean, I know they wanted Nathan Fillion to play him, and he would be another good like Nathan Drake. But just make Bradley Cooper Nathan Drake. Make an Indiana Jones film, but don't call it Indiana Jones, and just call it Uncharted the movie, and put Bradley Cooper in it. It will be the same movie because Bradley Cooper, because Nathan Drake is basically Indiana Jones. It's the same concept. He's an archaeologist with a heart of gold. It's just he hasn't got the whip and the hat. Oh God, we don't need it. What else is going on? As you can see, I'm doing the colouring now. I have a separate layer for the colours, which goes on top of the background layer. The background, that purple, is generally the living room colour. I have a yellow for the kitchen. I sometimes use an orangey colour. They're just good background colours, and sometimes like a greeny grey. They're just all good colours for background. They tend not to, clash with the colours of the characters that I've got. I can't really have a green, I can't really have a brown, I can't really have a blue, I can't really have a red. So they're colours that sort of don't clash with the characters. And obviously when I do outdoor scenes, I I have a light blue sky, and then clouds, which I usually use a Gaussian blur to create, and then trees and bushes and gates, and whatever needs must when I'm actually drawing it. But like I said, I wanted to keep this one basic, so it's just the living room purple, and I'll put a window highlight in later. I didn't bother doing any shading on this one. There's something else that I'll save for another one, because I didn't want this to run too long, being the first one, just in case it didn't work or whatever. And two, it's a little bit more in depth, and I would like to talk about it, because shading, it does make the pictures look. I mean, I hate looking at Warren's hair when it's not shaded. I just think it needs the curves of the darker brown to make it stand out. But yeah, like I said, I didn't want to do it in this one because I want to talk through it a little bit more. And obviously you can see in the final panel, basically what's happened is they've all transformed into more feminine personas, because they're slagging off me, or my likeness in the strip, the Ian character, which is basically me. It is me, except I'm wearing a Brood Hollow t-shirt, which I do not own, because I don't think there is a Brood Hollow. I don't think there is a Brood Hollow t-shirt, but I would buy one instantly if there was, because it is an amazing comic, one of the best new online web comics. But obviously, it's someone who's massively experienced in doing web comics, but he's new. It's a story that he's obviously passionate about, and it's working. It's working wonders. And if you haven't read it, I suggest you do. It's kind of like, it's got like an old newspaper, grainy colouring effect. It's set in the sort of the early 1900s, or and it's just brilliant. It's just a fantastic story. It's well drawn. It's definitely well coloured, especially well coloured. And some of the big pieces are just beautiful, brilliant. It's on my list of daily, well, not daily, but because he only updates 3 days a week, but I check it every update, along with other comics. What else has happened? Oh, that plane's gone missing, isn't it? That Malaysian plane. That's probably aliens. I don't know why they're bothering searching the sea. It's probably aliens. It's probably been whisked off, black hole, or what's happened is it was collided with by a strange vessel launched from space, with a predator in it. No, it could be. You never know, predator. It's hit the plane. The plane's gone down, or it could be like Lost. They've been lured to an island, crash landed on the island, and they're all running away from a bit of smoke or a polar bear or whatever the fuck nonsense that program was about. I only watched the first half of the first series, and then I gave up because it just seemed like a barrel of nonsense to me. And I know there's people that absolutely loved it, but I do also know that a lot of people loved it. Thought the ending was a barrel of shit. But they could be. You never know. They could all be on a desert island somewhere, like Castaway. They're talking to Wilson volleyballs and throwing spears at fish in the sea, trying to build a raft out of a cubicle. Who knows? I'm sure they might. I don't think they're going to find it now. I think they should probably call it off. I think now they're just staying out there looking because they feel they owe it to the families, and they think they can't really call it off just yet. But time's time. I ain't going to find it. Obviously, I will pimp this video out to everywhere and sundry. But if you want to leave a comment, questions, anything else, please do. I'll leave the comments open. I'll leave the likes and dislikes open. I don't care. I can't have any worse email than I've had starting this comic and doing the Ranting Monkeys. I got some proper abuse then. So feel free to please leave your comments, especially if it's about the actual artwork and drawing itself. If you've got suggestions of how to work easier, if you think if you're a bit more experienced than I am, I'm very much open to learning. I'm always on the lookout for extra tips and stuff like that. And if you could suggest new podcasts, because I draw listening to a podcast, and I've done the Webcomic Weeklies, I've done all of the downloadable content, I've done all of the Dungeons and Dragons podcasts, I've done all of Chainsaw Suit podcast, and all of the other webcomic podcasts just seem dire. They're just not well structured, and I don't like the sound of the people talking. So if you've got suggestions of good podcasts to listen to, just as background noise, I can't have too much concentration when I'm writing it. Although I do tend to listen quite well when I'm drawing, because my mind's not really doing anything else. Please do, leave a comment, and if you've got any questions, obviously comments. I'll leave all the links to the website. If you're just finding this, you're stumbling across this on the YouTube channel, and you want to check out my comic strip, I'll leave all the information below: my Twitter, my Facebook, and the actual website itself. I don't bother. I won't bother leaving the information of all the stuff I use to make it. If people want to know, then they can leave the question, then I'll answer it next time, and then I'll put the links in. But if I fill the comments section with bleeding information, no one reads it. If there's too much, if it's just like, here's my Twitter, here's the website, people will go, oh right. But if there's like a page worth of toot and they're all links, people will be like, nah, I don't really care. I'm not going to put any advertising on the YouTube channel either. I'll leave that completely as is, because it's annoying. The adverts are either the link you click away from straight away, or the link you click away from after 5 seconds, or the link that stops you from actually watching the video for 20 seconds because it's unskippable, so you don't bother watching the video in the first place. Just seems like a load of nonsense. What's next? I don't know what I'm doing here. I think I'm highlighting the earring. So yeah, I'm always on Twitter, so that's the best place to reach me if you want to comment or talk to me or chat or send me messages. I try to respond to as many as I can, and also, but I mean, I've been on YouTube for quite a while, so I don't know how good the comment system is anymore. I imagine it's still as good as it ever was. But I'll do my best to answer messages and comments on any platform if that's your preferred platform. I'm really bad at answering stuff on Facebook though, because it's on the actual Snap Controller page, and I only visit my own page, and then I realise that I've had 6 messages on the Snap Controller page, and I have to reply to people after a week. One of them was for a job offer, not a job offer, but for work offer, and I missed it, which was annoying because it was like for a page that had like 19,000 hits or something, which would have come in handy if I could have done some strips for that page to get my strip out there to 19,000 people. Here's the background highlights that I usually do. It's just I just do an angled lasso tool and then colour in the whole area. Sometimes I'll do the actual window frames in the picture, but I didn't bother with this one because it's just, like I said, simple first strip, and I didn't want it to run too long, because an hour was long enough of you listening to me chat. But like I say, hopefully, you never know, I'll try and get some more people involved in the future episodes, but for the time being it will be me. It will be once a week at least, hopefully more, chatting away about what's been going on. And that's about me ready to sign off. It's about 30 seconds left to go, so I'll just say thank you very much for watching, and subscribe, like, comment. That's what everyone says, don't they, at the end of the videos? Like, subscribe and comment, please, it means so much. I like to read the comments. It doesn't bother me about getting promotion for the site, but I like to read them. But that's been I Draw You Watch number 1. See you at number 2. Bye. Wow, God, amazing, yeah.